Indiana has had a charmed season thus far. They did last year. This season, they're even better. And clearly, if you take a look at what Vegas had to say, they were a heavy favorite in this game. They're 14.5 favorite going into Happy Valley, a Happy Valley team that's, you could argue, a shell of itself without a quarterback, without their coach. Many of the same players, but still, it's just they've lost 5 in a row, or they had lost 5 in a row coming into this game. No one was expecting a whole lot. What we saw at Penn State was a much more inspired effort.
Yeah.
And they actually looked pretty good, all things considered. I thought Ethan Grunkemeyer acquitted himself pretty well. We saw some elements of the run game, some of the running backs get involved in the passing game. Even some wide receivers get involved, which, it took us to this point in the season to get there. Trevor Pena had a really nice game for Penn State. So I was watching this, yelling, screaming, not as loud as Gus Johnson, mind you, but just enough to scare the crap out of the dogs with pretty much every play that was going down towards the latter half of this ball game. Penn State scores late. They hold on to a 24-20 lead as Indiana gets the ball back. And this materializes into an Indiana win. Omar Cooper with an acrobatic toe tap touchdown. 7 yards out, 36 seconds left, gives Indiana the dub, 27-24. That was after a 10-play, 80-yard drive led by Fernando Mendoza in just a minute and 15 seconds. Speaking of heroics. So this one, if you didn't watch the whole thing, it ended up being like the last couple minutes of an NBA game where it just gets wild in a hurry. And like, if you catch the tail end of it, you kind of have like the full idea of what transpired and what the storylines are going to be. But my takeaway was this could end up being a signature moment for Indiana. They go on to win the Big Ten. If they go on and make some sort of run in the playoff, it could end up being a signature moment for Fernando Mendoza if he ends up being a Heisman finalist.
For sure. It already is. No matter what his season is, like the play that he made, which, by the way, not to fully cut you off, but that's what I do sometimes. The penultimate play, just in the way that like some seasons of TV, it's the penultimate episode. That's the actual killer one. Fernando Mendoza gets absolutely shelled as he's releasing it the play before, and the ball just sort of floats up in the air. And, if that ball is 2 yards further towards the end zone, the game's over, right? That like, it's a play that happens, right? Indiana was fortunate and Penn State was in an unfortunate position that the ball went or didn't go where it could have gone. But that was not Indiana's season, but that was the game floating in the air, and it just happened to fall into a safe spot for Indiana. And then Fernando Mendoza threw that unbelievable ball to Omar Cooper, who was not a huge factor in this game, by the way, but the biggest factor in the win, arguably. But yeah, that's, when you have these games that are that tight, it comes down to plays like that.
It does, and Penn State did a good job getting pressure. I mean, even that touchdown throw at the end, that was off his back foot.
Yeah.
He wasn't really able to step into that one. He just sort of lollipopped it out there, and Omar Cooper made a hell of a play on it to get the touchdown. So, look, unless you feel some particular affinity for Wisconsin or Purdue down the stretch, Indiana's pretty much on a glide path to get to 12-0, to get to that Big Ten title game. Most likely against Ohio State. I guess we need to see what transpires the rest of the way. Clearly, they're going to be in the playoff as things stand right now, and it just continues. If you're a Hoosiers fan, it's been a remarkable run here, and this is, frankly, the type of late game grit that you want to see. If there was any question that Indiana could do this again, they did it against Iowa. They do it again here against Penn State.
Did it against Oregon, too. That game was
did
close
against
on the
Oregon,
road. Yeah.
Right? Like, these games were all different in some regard, but Indiana has now had a couple instances where we've asked some new questions of them to see what they're really made of, and they've come through in the clutch. So I give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, I think it's great for Indiana, right? That there are certain buttons how to push when it comes to the Big Ten championship game, when it comes to a playoff matchup, that you are in a tight game against Ohio State or Alabama or take your pick, and you have a certain amount of confidence because you were able to do this on the road in these specific spots. And Fernando Mendoza has come through time after time. You don't want to be in this spot if you're Indiana, given what Penn State hasn't been able to do recently. And honestly, I kind of like the juice for Penn State because whatever their future is, we've got Grunkemeyer completing passes down the field. This is not a half offense because there was the threat with Trevor Pena,
He
with Nick
looked good.
Singleton.
I thought Grunk looked pretty good.
He made plays in a losing effort, and obviously there's going to be a new regime in State College, but that they're going to go into whatever this new era is with just a little bit of juice, right? That this is not a locker room. This is not a roster that has completely folded, right? They were in it late against Iowa. They were in it late against Indiana. And whatever the future holds, there's somewhat of a foundation going into the offseason.
And on the Penn State side, one other aspect that has gone reported among some of the Penn State writers that, many of whom we know personally, but the storyline coming into this game was how little juice many of the reporters were picking up in practice this week when they talked to players. Even the stadium before the game, I had some people messaging me that it was like a blue-white game, the spring scrimmage,
Sure.
right? That it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of juice around this game. And lo and behold, they gave it their best. Still, the agony continues for the Penn State community. It's been like 6 straight weeks of stomach punches now since that Oregon game, and they still have yet to beat a Power 4 opponent in 2025. That's not good.
Not ideal. It's we're in the shadow of Thanksgiving. By the way, if the friendly folks at Tropicana, if you're interested in who's got the juice from the Solid Verbal, not a sponsor, could be. Ty and I are eager to talk about all things juice. Continue.
27-24, a big boy win